Well, what happens if you get sick? What happens if you die? What happens if you become disabled and you're not able to work? Either at the same level you were, you're never able to work again. So when we talk about risk management with folks, what we say is now we need to look at your insurance programming outside of what you may have at work. We all have the ability to achieve our goals, to reach our dreams if we stay committed and are disciplined to overcoming the obstacles that life will place in front of us on the path moving forever forward. That's why we call it Forever Forward.
Hi, Scott. Welcome. And please tell everybody about you.
Well, thank you so much, MD, for first, the privilege and the honor of being with you this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you and, of course, your audience, and hopefully teach them a little bit about how money works. Who am I? I'm Scott Bigley. I'm down in the Tampa Bay, Florida area. I am the proud owner, CEO, whatever you'd like to call me, of Forever Forward Financial Group here. We're not just bound by the boundary of the state of Florida. We are actually licensed to practice in 42 states. We are a full service financial planning operation. What we generally focus on, however, which I think is what sets us apart, is that we teach people how money works. We do that by helping them understand four things about their money: how to make more, how to grow more, how to save more, and how to keep it all safe. We are not in the business of pushing our agenda onto the people that choose to work with us. We are in the business of sitting with those people and helping them learn how to utilize the secrets about how money works. In other words, we teach them the rules of how money works so they can put the rules to work for them. What we tell people is that the best way to win the game or to win at anything in life is to study and know the rules. Right. If you know the rules, you're in a much better position to succeed. So that's what sets us apart. We teach people how money works by helping them understand. If you understand the rules and apply the rules, you can make more money, you can save more money, you can grow more money, and you can keep your money safe.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for doing that, for educating people. On your profile, you said you're helping people learn how to utilize the best kept wealth accumulation secret that will assist them in building long-term wealth in tax-free environment. Also, you have this website, this business, AmericanGlobalWealth.com. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
American Global Wealth Management is, in my industry, what is known as my broker-dealer. Okay. I am licensed, and I am a licensed insurance agent in 42 states, and I am also what is called a registered representative in all 50 states. A registered representative is an individual who has studied to show him or herself approved to sell securities-related financial products, mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, bonds, those type of things. American Global Wealth Management is what we call, in our industry, a broker-dealer. A broker-dealer is simply an organization that has been approved by FINRA and the Securities Exchange Commission for people like myself to affiliate with, so that we can legally transact regulated securities business. So American Global Wealth Management is my broker-dealer. Yeah. That is the organization that I work with if I ever do any securities-related business with any of our clients.
This is good. Like you said, you are a certified financial educator. You have all these licenses. So let's talk about financial literacy. Why is it important? And when someone can say, hey, I am financially literate now?
Well, the reason it's important is because most people, plain and simple, MD, don't understand how money works. We as a nation, here in the United States, most people have learned two things about money: how to make it and how to spend it. Everything else doesn't matter.
Right.
But again, that's our society. We are a consumer driven culture. So, what most people do, what the majority of people do each and every day, is they wake up and they trade their most valuable asset, their time, at a job to earn money. And here's the key part: it's someone else's money. So therefore, they don't even control that. And then they get that person's money and then they give it to somebody else.
Right.
And then they wonder why I don't have any money. It's because they don't understand how money works. So financial literacy, at least from our perspective at Forever Forward, is you need to know that. You need to understand that if you have a job, what you are doing each and every day is you're waking up and you're trading your most valuable asset, your time, and in return, you are given someone else's money. That's okay. That's how the system works. But what you have to then learn is that person, since they control the money, also indirectly control you. During the pandemic, we all know someone who lost a job as a result of the pandemic.
Right.
That is laid bare when you have a job, how at risk you are, that all that time you've given away to collect a paycheck, which is someone else's money, can be taken away from you. And when it is taken away from you, and you look at the checkbook or the savings account or whatever, you realize that you took that money, you took that person's money, and you gave it away to everyone else. In effect, most people spend their entire working life working to make other people wealthy.
Right.
And they forget about themselves. So financial literacy is important, MD, for people, so they begin to understand how money works. If I'm going to trade my most valuable asset, my time, for someone else's money, probably the first thing I need to learn is I probably should put a piece of this money to work for me,
Right.
as opposed to giving it away and making everyone else rich.
Right. And you talked about the foundations of financial literacy. What are some of these foundations?
Well, and again, great question, MD. And this is probably the biggest surprise when I meet with people and they ask me, so, hey, Scott, what's the first thing I need to know about how money works?
Right.
And regardless of how old they are, if they're an old guy like me or a young guy like you with a wife and a couple of kids running around or a business, the first question I ask them is, well, the first thing you need to know about how money works is, do you have a will? And they look at me a little and say, well, what's that got to do with anything? Say, and the answer is, it has everything to do with how money works. Most of my discussions with people that choose to work with us begin with that discussion. No financial plan will work if you have not done the paperwork to protect it. So what's included in the paperwork? A will. And no one likes to talk about this because normally when you talk about this, something bad has to happen to somebody. But you have to have a will in place. That clearly outlines what your wishes and what your directives are. If you don't have a will in place, the court steps in and decides what happens to your money, to your house, to your car, to your boat, to your RV, to your clothes, to all your stuff. And your spouse, your partner, your kids can all be saying, but no, Dad said we could have it. And the court says, well, he should have written it down. And the court will decide. So having a will in place is step one. Step two is having what we call your power of attorney in place. A power of attorney is simply someone that you name to speak on your behalf if you are unable to.
Mm.
If you become sick and you are no longer able to speak for yourself, you need someone who knows what your wishes are to speak on your behalf. My father was an Alzheimer patient.
Okay.
I was his power of attorney. Nothing happened in terms of my father's care until they spoke with me. Number one, because I was his power of attorney. But number two, I was also his health care surrogate. That is another major piece of building the proper foundation. You write your will, you name a power of attorney, and you name a health care surrogate. Again, a health care surrogate, just like your power of attorney, is someone that can speak on your behalf in terms of your health care needs. They can be two different people, they can be the same person, but without any of these basic documents in place, if something were to, if I were to have a heart attack right now and fall on the floor in the middle of our show, MD, and my family didn't know to, well, here's the file.
Right.
Everyone would be looking around going, oh, what do we do next?
Right.
What happens to, uh, so building a proper foundation starts with looking at ourselves and saying, if something bad happens to me, and I mean no disrespect, but if I decide to get hit by a bus today, what happens to all of this stuff that I've worked so hard for my whole life? Or if I become ill and I'm no longer to act on my own behalf, I need to have someone or someone's in place that knows what I want and knows where the file is to say, nope, I'm the power of attorney. Here's what Scott's wishes were or
So,
are.
so the
If
power of
this happens,
attorney, so the power of attorney is going to be someone you really trust, right?
that's always
Family,
helpful.
a
Yes.
family
Yes.
member, or who can be a power of attorney? Who you can
Anyone
include?
can be, anyone can act as your power of attorney and or your healthcare surrogate. Generally, if when I'm working with clients and if they don't feel comfortable naming a family member or a trusted associate, generally what we do is we establish the law firm that drafts the will as the power of attorney and healthcare surrogate. Why does that work well? Generally, law firms don't go away.
Right.
You might name me as your power of attorney, but what happens to me? What happens if something happens to me? So generally, what we counsel folks to do when you're naming your powers of attorney and your healthcare surrogates, if you want it to be individuals, you probably want to name a primary, a secondary, and a tertiary just in case something happens to one of those individuals. In my case, I have three daughters. All three of my daughters are my powers of attorney and my healthcare surrogates. So if something bad, wishing no bad, anything bad to my daughters, but if something happens to my daughters, I have that line of succession built in.
Wow.
So,
Right.
and see, these are the type of dialogues that people go, well, how's that relate to? Oh, it's over here. How money works. But that's really the basis. That's the foundation that you need to lay and have in place before you even begin to talk about building wealth or being on a cruise every year.
Wow.
That's where it all begins. That's where it should begin. That's where it should begin.
And how about legacy and estate planning?
Well, this is all part of legacy and estate planning.
Okay.
In those documents, and of course there are many more depending on each individual's situation. You might want to establish trusts, you might want to establish endowments, you might want, there's just a myriad of things that go into what we call legacy and or estate planning. All these documents work together to convey your final wishes and directives as to, and this is a tough word, but it's the truth, as to the disposal and or resolution of your estate from how do I want to be buried? Where do I want to be buried? To bills need to be paid, to who gets the house, or are you going to sell the house and split the money and go on a nice vacation? So this is all part of creating your legacy and or your estate plan. People call it they are synonymous terms. Some people call it legacy planning, some people call it estate planning. But these are all the documents that become part of that plan. And contained in that plan are all the things that we'll talk about here in a bit of, okay, well, I have, $5 million in this investment account and I have $3 million over here. What happens with all that? Who gets what and how much and for how long?
Yeah, this is so good. As you know, there's a lot of families, the head of household, he passed away, and then no one knows what to do with, there's no will. They have a couple of houses, here and there. They don't know what to do. It make it so easy if there's a will and there are some documentations that people can follow.
But without question, I mean, personal story. When my grandfather died, when my maternal grandfather died, my grandmother didn't even know how to write a check. Now, he died back in the 70s, so life was a little different. We didn't have debit cards back in those days because he took care of all of it. He took care of all the money, all the house. My grandmother didn't even know how to write a check. We had to teach her how to write checks. All of that could have been avoided had my grandfather done some very simple things: a will, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, so on and so on and so forth.
Right. And this is a very tough topic to talk about, but how do you convince, someone, hey, do you have a will? Because no one wants to talk about this.
No, they don't. No, they don't. But hopefully, MD, the dialogue goes just like the dialogue you and I are having.
Right.
And hopefully that through that dialogue, when I look at them and say, look, if we don't do this first, I can teach you how to get rich in about 7 minutes. Getting rich really isn't hard. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
What I say to them is staying rich is the tough part. And those are the documents that ensure that you stay rich, but more importantly, if something bad happens to me or to whomever, the people that you've worked so hard for your whole life, the people, places, and things that you love, stay rich.
Right.
And that what you want to have happen to your stuff is exactly how it happens. So generally, when I put it like that to people, and it can be a little hard, and I can come off as a little mean and a little abrupt, but that's okay. That's my job.
Yeah.
My job is to kind of talk to people about things they don't like talking about.
Yeah.
They get it. They understand it. And most times they'll look at me and go, fine, Scott, what do we need to do? And we get it going and we get it done. But the amazing thing about it, MD, is once they go through the process of sitting with the attorney and really thinking about it, this is the first step in learning how money works. It's probably the first time in their lives that they have ever really sat down
Yep.
and looked around.
Yep, that's true.
At
That's true.
all the stuff
That's true.
they have, excuse me, and then realize, wow, we got to figure out what's going to happen with this. The kids are going to be stuck with a garage full of junk.
Yep.
We don't want that.
Yep.
And so that's the first step. And what they realize is they come to realize that all that work and all that toil and all that blood, sweat, and tears, they've done pretty well.
That's true.
And then they begin to realize, I don't want some judge deciding whether my kids get, the China set or nothing at all.
Right.
And so it helps them begin to realize that their work, they've been working for a reason. That reason just never kind of bubbled up to the surface. And it sounds kind of weird, but I take a lot of pride in having my clients look at me after they go through that and say, Scott, thank you for making us do that. We didn't realize, number one, how much we had, but more importantly, that we had done nothing to make sure that what we wanted to have happen would happen.
Yeah.
And it creates a peace of mind. It creates a peace of mind. So that tough conversation gets easier because now it's like, well, if I get hit by the bus, I'm ready for it. I'm ready,
Yeah.
so I'm going to go play in traffic now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. So, as you know, a lot of people, they just work paycheck to paycheck. They don't make a lot of money. They don't, some people don't have their own homes. They're renting. Maybe they have a car, they have a full-time job. And they're like, Scott, why do I need a will? I don't have, a lot of wealth yet. So what do you say to them? You say what?
Well, it's not about being wealthy.
Right.
Even someone that perceives themselves as, I don't have anything. I don't have $1 million in the bank, and I don't, live down, at West Palm Beach, Florida, on the beach, and so why do I need a will?
Right.
What I say to them is, well, you do have responsibilities that will need to be addressed. Look around. You do have some stuff. You do have a car. You do have some furniture.
Mhm.
And, in reality, you're probably going to live to be a ripe old age because a will is not a one and done thing.
Yeah.
I'm not old, but I'm older. But I've revised my will over the last 40 years, probably 8, 10 times. Why? My life has changed. My daughters are now both in their 30s, have their own families. So, what I wanted to have happen in 1995 is not what needs to happen in 2013. The idea is you get those documents in place, your will, your power of attorney, your healthcare surrogate, you get it all in place. And you start when you're 28 because you're probably going to live to be 90.
Mhm.
And it's about understanding how money works and understanding that the first thing about how money works is it changes.
Right.
And it can change every year, especially when you're younger. You can if you're fortunate enough to go to school, you get your first job, you're probably there for 4 or 5 years, then you get your next job, and before you know it, you're 38 years old and you're an RVP somewhere, and you're not thinking like a 25-year-old, and suddenly you look around and you've got a partner, a couple of kids, maybe 3 or 4 dogs, and you're not driving the Yugo anymore. You got a Mercedes out there, and now you have the $750,000, and you're making $500,000 a year, and it's a little more difficult. If you get yourself in the habit of doing these things, the earlier the better, the easier it gets as your life changes
Right.
and needs change and wants change and your family grows.
Yeah.
So what I say to them is it's not about being Jeff Bezos or somebody rich. It's about letting people know what you want to have happen should something happen to you.
I like that. That's so good. It's not about being wealthy. It's not, and also it's a living document. That was so good because you can update it, every year, every 2 years. So you can keep adding on it as you become older. That's good.
Yeah.
So one of the foundations also it's risk management. You wanna elaborate a little
Oh,
bit on that?
oh yeah, that's the other thing that we start talking about. So step one is kind of get 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 the paperwork done. Get everything we just been talking about. And then step two is, okay, now we got to start managing risk. Well, what does that mean? Well, what happens if you get sick? What happens if you die? What happens if you become disabled and you're not able to work? Either at the same level you were, you're never able to work again. So when we talk about risk management with folks, what we say is now we need to look at your insurance programming outside of what you may have at work.
Oh, outside. Okay.
Outside of what you have in work, your healthcare plan, your life insurance program, um, long-term care, long-term disability, an emergency fund. Most people will say to me, well, Scott, I have all that at work. Why do I need to buy more? Well,
You can lose
here's
your
the
job.
answer. Yeah, you might change your job.
Yeah.
And more than likely you will, because what we know, especially in today's world, unlike when I grew up, my grandfather worked for the same company for 40 years.
Yeah.
My father worked for the same company for 38 years. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So all of this is kind of on each individual. So the idea is put your own plan in place, what we like to call your own self-insured pension and or retirement plan, whichever word you like the best. And what that allows you to do is to manage the risk in the event that you die, you become sick, you become disabled, um, uh, any one of life's catastrophes. Again, not the first conversation that people want to have when they wake up in the morning and they roll over and they look at the person they love and go, you know what I'm going to do today, babe? I'm going to call Scott and talk about the day I die. Well, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And again, but that's my job, is to look at him and say, MD, this isn't a pleasant dialogue. I don't want to have to talk to you about this stuff. But we need to, because the reality is still there. Don't think it's going to happen for a long time, but isn't it better that we address it now so we're prepared, as opposed to when it's too late and it's too late to even discuss it? People will look at me and say, Scott, can you kind of describe what you do simply? And I look at them and I say, yeah, that's easy. I'm a worst case scenario planner. My job is to sit down with people and say, what's the worst thing that could happen to you or your family, or if it's a business owner, what's the worst thing that could happen? And you know what? 9 times out of 10, what's everyone's first response? If it's a family, and they say it almost in unison, well, one of us could get sick or die.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad, wouldn't it? And if that were to happen, what would happen? Oh, we don't, oh my God, we'd lose everything. Yeah. So, but you know what? You can mitigate that risk. I mean, think about it. You buy a car, you buy insurance on your car.
Right.
You buy a house, you buy insurance on your house.
Right.
I mean, I work with people that have health care on their dogs, but not on themselves. It's like, what do you think? You know?
Right.
So it's my job to say, so you recognize the value of your car, and that if something bad happens to your car, we need to have a plan in place to address that need. You recognize the value of your home, whether you own it or rent it, because if you're renting, you still should have renter's insurance,
Right.
because the apartment building can burn down.
Right.
Uh, so you recognize that value and you put a plan in place to um, replace it. But the thing that makes it all happen is you, and you haven't done anything to address what happens if something happens to you. Where's the logic in that? Where's the reasonableness in that? And the reason people don't do it is and we're laughing about it, and that's okay. It's because we're talking about things that people don't really like to talk about.
Yeah.
Scott, I don't want to talk about the day I die, or the day I get sick, or the day that I get hurt and I can never work again in my life. I don't want to talk about that. No one does. But you know what? If you don't, when that day comes, there's a lot of problems. And when that day comes, and if you haven't talked about it, you have no say, your family has no say in how those problems are resolved. The court does. And what I can tell you is, because if you've ever been to court for any reason, when the judge bangs the gavel, no one likes the decision. No one. No one walks out of there going, boy, that went well.
That's true. That's true.
So that's part of it.
Wow, that's good. So step one, you have all the paperwork done. Step two, you mitigate your risk. You have those insurance, life insurance, or all the risk management tools you talked about. Then where do you go next after that?
Now we can talk about building wealth. CMD, it's a lot like building the house. It's identical to building a house. You know, we've all met people who are building the house and they want to tell us about the kitchen and the cabinets and the tile, and they want to tell us about the bathrooms and the cabinetry and the tile and the mirrors and the lighting and they want to tell us about all the stuff that's going to go into the house, that's going to make it the most beautiful place on earth. Oh, it's going to be Shangri-La. Go talk to the contractor. And if you ask the contractor, hey, what's the most important plan? You got all these blueprints, you got this beautiful house plan. What's the most important part? He's going to say the foundation.
Yep. Yep.
Building your financial house is no different than building your home. So again, we build the foundation. Now we can begin to talk about what do you want the kitchen to look like? What would you, so think about it like building a house, but like building a house, we have to think we're building a 3-story house. We're building a 3-story house. The first floor of your home is the public area.
Mm-hmm.
It's where your kitchen normally is. That's where your family room normally is. Your living and your dining room normally is. It's the public area. That's where your friends and families come for Christmas, for the holidays, when you're throwing a party. The first floor is the public area. Well, your financial house is no different. The first floor of your financial house are your public financial documents or financial products, your checking account, your savings account. It's the stuff that you have access to every day, just like in your home. The first floor. The second floor is a little more private. That's where we have our bedrooms and our private bathrooms and our closets full of all our clothes. And just like your financial house, the second floor of your financial house are your financial products that are a little more private. Your investment accounts, your 401k or your IRA, your mutual fund portfolio, the things that you don't bring out to the party because you don't want your friends to know. So that's the second floor of your financial house. Things that are a little more private. The third floor, or what some people call the attic, are where your dreams are. That's where the dreams go. College plans for the kids, retirement plans for us when we're old and we're gray and we want to cruise and we want to travel and we want to do this with the grandkids, or we want to endow a chair at our college or our university or a charity that we want to support. The dreams go into the attic, but we also have to think about the roof, because the roof is the antithesis of the foundation. The foundation gives it the firm, stable ground upon which it sits, and the roof provides the protection for everything underneath. So the foundation and the roof work hand in hand. So when we're building our financial house, that's where we start. Let's look at the first floor. Tell me about your easy access money, your checking account, your savings account, your money market accounts, things that basically we can run to the bank and take care of. When we see that that's in order, okay, let's move to the second floor. Tell me what you're doing that's a little more private. Tell me about your 401k. Tell me about those type of plans. And then tell me about the dreams. And that's how we move people through building from the foundation up a solid house that will withstand, and I live in Florida, so I always use a hurricane, a Cat 5 hurricane blowing in off the beach. Everyone else's house will blow down. But my job is to make sure that your financial house will stand that Cat 5 hurricane. Why? Because we've built it properly. Most people, when they build their financial house, talk about how pretty the kitchen is, talk about what the bathroom's going to look like, talk about the pool area, and that's where all the money goes. And then the wind blows and it all goes away.
What a great example. With the house, that's really, a very good educator, you know,
Oh, thank you.
a very good financial educator. This is just hit home, is very well explained, you know, using a house, what everybody can understand. You explain it in a very simple way. First floor, second floor, building, you know, having the foundations, and then you have your checking accounts, and then let's talk a little bit about investing. Now, for someone who has 401ks or want to invest in the stock market, um, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, you know, one of the first things that I think most people don't understand when I meet with people and I ask them, you know, where do you work? And they'll tell me where they work.
So if you like what you've seen so far, don't forget to subscribe and check my courses online. So you can go at Online Campus School and subscribe here and hit the notification so you get notified anytime we upload new videos. We have very interesting content here. So feel free to go ahead and watch whatever you like. You can also check my courses on Udemy. This is one of my latest course, Solar System 101 course for all level. This is one of the
Hi everyone and welcome. I'm MD Jallo. I am an educator, a project manager, a data analyst about space and long skills from public available information. Would you like to learn and refresh your knowledge about what is space? How big is space? About our solar system, about our own star, the sun, Kuiper Belt, the Earth cloud, beyond our solar system, with exoplanets and galaxies, planets, dwarf planets, moons in our solar system, and then learn about eclipses, asteroids. Come, I will see you inside the course. Ready, set, let's go.
So you can check that course if you like it, to learn a little bit about our solar system, and also have other courses there. You can see here some other courses: the Ultimate Amazon Leadership Principle Masterclass, complete course on top 41 legit ideas to make money, a brief beginner's guide to gaming, a brief introduction about America. That's a great course also. Starting a business in America as a foreigner. Okay, that one also is a great course. Of course, the solar system course, one of the highest rated course right now on Udemy. Very hard. Make sure to check it out. All right, back to the video.
And I'll ask them, well, do you have a pension plan at work? And they go, yeah, we got a 401k. I have to be Debbie Downer and say, no, that's not a pension plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a pension plan. 401k is basically an IRA on steroids. A 401k is not in any way related to the organization other than they offer it to you as an employee benefit. It is your plan. It is your plan. It is an individual retirement arrangement. 401k just refers to the Internal Revenue Code that governs it. If you really want to sleep well tonight, Google 401k and read it. You'll be asleep in 3 minutes. But the first thing you will learn is that it is your plan. See, a pension plan is what our fathers and our grandfathers had. For my grandfather worked on the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
He had a pension from the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
We all, and that's probably true, you know, for many of our fathers and grandfathers. Oh yeah, my grandfather worked for, you know, U.S. Steel and had a pension from U.S. pension. When I was a kid, which was a long time ago, pensions were offered in almost 80% of American corporations.
Wow, 80%.
Today,
Wow.
it's down to under 20. Why? Because pensions are really expensive for a company, for a corporation to offer their people.
Mm-hmm.
So what they've done is they've tricked their employee. And when you get hired, and I ask, well, do we have a retirement plan here at XYZ? Oh yeah, we have a 401k. That's not a pension.
Mm-hmm.
It's a retirement plan, but it's your retirement plan. So the first thing of understanding about how money works is that 401k is not a pension plan. It's your plan, which means you're responsible for it. Now, the company may say, yeah, we'll match you up to 3%, which is great. But other than that, their hands are clean.
Mm-hmm.
They don't pay the cost and the fees associated with that plan. You do.
Right.
And many people don't understand that your 401k,
coming out of your paycheck.
Yeah. Well, the money comes out of your paycheck to fund it.
Right.
But the provider of that plan, whoever is administering that plan, is charging you annual fees and costs to maintain that plan. Many people don't know that. When I sit with people and say, "Hey, MD, you got a great plan here. You got some great investment options, so on and so forth. And oh yeah, you got a nice rates of return, blah, blah. And did you realize that you're losing 3% a year to have this plan?" And they, "What do you mean I'm losing 3% a year?" Well, the plan provider, how do you think they're making money?
Right.
They got to make, they're not doing it for free.
Right.
They're like, "Yeah, we like MD. Let's just give them some money and help them get rich." Oh, they're going, "Hey, MD, we're going to help you get rich, but we're going to take 3% from you every year." So, I mean, let's keep the numbers simple. If you have $100,000 in your 401k, you're feeling pretty good about it, and you should. But what you don't realize is that the plan provider is taking $3,000 a year from you because they were gracious enough to, let you participate in that plan. So understanding as an employee, not only your retirement plans, but all the benefits that employers offer you: healthcare, life insurance, retirement plans, primarily 401k, all those, understanding all those plans is important. I think about it. You get hired at a new job, you're called in for orientation. So you go to orientation and you're given a booklet, you're given a big booklet, and the HR representative is there, and they say, "Okay, we'll just start on page 4, blah, blah, blah." And eventually you get to the benefits part.
Yeah.
And they say, "Okay, here's our healthcare plans. This one does this one does that, this one does that. Pick one." And everybody sits there and goes, "How much does B cost? I'm taking that one."
Yeah.
Okay, here's the retirement plan. We have a 401k. You have 20 investment options. Okay, you can pick as many as you want. Okay. That's how people are signing up for their benefits.
Yeah. No one knows what they're doing. Yeah.
No one has a clue.
Yeah.
And then they sit with somebody like me, and I normally start with their their 401k, because that's what most people are familiar with. And then I kind of just walk, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know that. Really, ooh, that's not so good, is it?" Oh. And then you look at your healthcare plan and you go, "Oh, whoa, wow, that's not the coverage I thought I had." Or they get sick and they go to the doctor, and then they find out that what they thought they had isn't what they had. So understanding employee benefits is key in understanding how money works, because the responsibility is yours.
Right.
No one is going to care more about your financial health, your financial wellness, and your financial being than you.
Right.
Or it should be you. But see, we all think that our employer cares, that our government cares, that our neighbors care, that our friends and family care. They don't. Why? It's not their business. They got their own stuff going on. Our financial well-being is our responsibility in our world today. So when we sit and we chat a little bit about what should I be doing to accumulate wealth, is my employer plan well, or should I maybe doing something on my own? Very much like in risk mitigation. Scott, why should I buy life insurance? I have life insurance at work.
Right.
Well, most employer-sponsored life insurance programs are 1 to 2 times your salary.
Right.
So, okay, you're making 50 grand a year. Okay, the company's giving you $100,000. Hey, MD, if you get hit by the bus today, how long is 100 grand going to take care of your family? Maybe to the end of the year, maybe. And if you leave the job, you leave that behind.
Yeah.
It's the same thing on your wealth accumulation, and I like to call it wealth accumulation. Why retire? Why do we call it retirement? Well, because again, that's another kind of, that's how we've been trained. Or we all want this mythical thing called retirement. No, because what we're learning is most people are not retiring as our fathers and grandfathers did. Most people are saying, "I want to get to a point in my life where I have accumulated significant wealth or sufficient wealth that I can begin to choose if I want to continue to work.
Right.
So I try to tell my people, get rid of that term retirement, because quite frankly, that's not what you're going to do. What we know today in today's work environment, and I think the number is 70%, give a little better, maybe just a few points above 70%, that an individual, and this is important, will change industry, not job, will change industry career paths 7 to 9 times during their working lives. Now, I want you to think about that. You start working when you're 25, say you quit when you're 70. So that's, well, let's just call it 50 years. What's 50 divided by 9? Well, I didn't know there'd be math, Scott. Oh, let's call it 5.
Right.
You're changing not a job, but an industry. So you started as a doctor. 5 years later, you're now a lawyer. 5 years later, you're now a carpenter. 5 years, you're not changing. It's not like you're moving within. I'm a lawyer. I'm just moving up the corporate ladder. I'm moving up the lawyer ladder. No, people are literally changing industry, and that has has a huge impact on our ability to accumulate wealth. Why? Because we're never anywhere long enough to really take advantage of the employee benefit plans that are offered. So understanding how money works and understanding how do I accumulate wealth, again, comes a personal responsibility, and understanding that there's no perfect investment suitable for everyone. And understanding that if you're chasing the trends, what's hot today will not be hot in 6 months. And that's kind of where our culture is. I have people call me all the time about, hey, Scott, what do you know about this? Or what do you know about that? Or what do you know about this? And it's what they heard, because we'll talk about technology in a minute. Because, they saw it on CNBC or they read it in Forbes. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, why are you tracing trends? That's not how you make money. Making money is about understanding who you are as an investor, what you're willing to risk for a reward, and the reward is I make money over a period of time. The idea, I meet with people, so Scott, I don't need your services. I'm a market timer. I know what I'm doing. Oh, okay. Sure you do. And the research bears that out. When we look at who creates the best rates of return, when we look about and investing, and you have money market managers, and you have fund managers, and you have hedge fund managers, and you have all these people, and people like me that manage people's money. We all earn our clients generally across history over the last 20, 30 years, somewhere between 8 and 12% a year. Those who are market timers are down around 2.5%, because that's not how it works. It's not how it works. This isn't, I'm going to date myself. This isn't the disco where the song that I like is playing. So I'm out on the dance floor, and then it's like, oh, now I'm out of the dance floor.
Right.
But what happened when I left the dance floor? That's when all the pretty girls went out to the dance floor. Look what I missed.
Right.
But yet I stayed on the dance floor.
You might get lucky.
I might got a little better reward. You know what I mean? So the idea is putting together an investment plan. And when we say the term investment, it can mean anything. It can mean your 401k. It can mean doing something in the markets. It can mean starting a business. But understanding yourself and what it means to be an investor before you make that decision.
Right.
But once you make that decision, unless something catastrophic happens, just like being at the disco, even though this is a song I don't like, I probably should stay on the dance floor, because you never know who might not walk out here.
That's true. Wow. So you just talk about technology, and I want to, right now we have ChatGPT, Google Boards, AI, and so what do you think is going to be the impact of technology in the financial services?
Well, I will tell you this first. The AI technology to me is amazing. It's it's an amazing technology. I consider myself a pretty good writer. I've written stuff, and then I've kind of used the chat GPT thing, and it's like, and you punch it in, it's like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah, it's scanning all the
Wow,
internet. Yeah,
wow. So to me, it's amazing. It's amazing technology. The problem that I have with it is, are the people that are using chat GPT or the AI technologies, just allow me to say it that way, are they inputting their question to create the output that they want you and I to hear? In other words, how much faith can I put in the output? Because I don't know who typed in, hey, chat GPT, write me something that says buying whatever stock is the greatest thing ever. And it'll spit it out.
Yep.
And it'll spit it out really nicely.
Yep.
In a way that will convince 50%. Oh my Lord, I saw this. It was put up there by this guy. He seems to know what he's doing. And let's go buy stock ABC. But then the music at the disco changes. And what do we do? So for me, the impact for me first is who's inputting the data
Right.
to get the output.
Right.
Because and I'm not in any way, shape, or form throwing anybody under the bus, but there are a lot of people in my industry that call themselves financial coach or financial this or financial, and they're unlicensed, they're unregistered,
Right.
and they're basically talking from their experience.
Right.
And that may be useful, it may be helpful, but I read a lot of output from these people. And again, I'm not saying they're right, wrong, or indifferent, but I sit there and I say to myself, I should probably call this individual and tell him that what he just said is not true.
Yeah.
Because it's illegal, or that's not what the code says. That's not the IRS interpretation of the concept that you're presenting, sir.
Right.
The IRS says this is how it works.
Right.
This is how it's applied, or this is what you can or cannot do. So not just the AI technology, but technology across the board. Again, lots of information out there, lots of information out there. But what I say to people when they say to me, well, Scott, why should I work with you? I can look this up on Google. It's like, yeah, you can. But allow me to ask you the question this way. If you have a heart attack, you can look up how to do heart surgery. Are you going to do that?
Yeah, that's
I
a good
mean,
example.
if you wreck your car, you can look up on Google how to replace the fender. Are you going to do that?
No.
If your house burns down, you can look up on Google how to build a house. Are you going to do that?
No.
When when your toilet overflows, you can, I can go on and on and on. So why is it that you'll go to the doctor if you need a heart attack, you go to the dentist to get your tooth fixed, you'll call a plumber to clean up your smelly bathroom, but to work with me, I got to think about that. And you want to know why? Because I talk to people about the things they don't like to talk about, and most people are real guarded about their money. Well, I don't want to tell you about my financial situation, Scott. I mean, that's kind of private, don't you think? And I look at them and say, well, most definitely, yes, it's private. But again, you tell your doctor everything. You don't have a problem with that. But more importantly, what I've discovered is the reason that most people don't want to talk to me or anyone in the financial services industry about their money situation is they know it's a hot mess. They just intuitively know it's a mess, that it's chaos, and that they don't have a clue what to do because they don't understand how money works. because these are the very same people. And again, forgive me, I'm in Florida. If someone from the Walt Disney World company calls them and says, hey, if you could just answer a few questions, we'll give you 50% off 3 days and 4 nights at the Magic Kingdom. Sure, what do you want to know? How much do you make, sir? They'll tell Disney to get 3 days in Disney all day long.
That's true.
But they won't tell me. And what I've learned in my 30 plus years, it's mostly because they're embarrassed. They know that their financial situation is a hot mess. They've bought stuff in the past, whether it be an investment, an insurance product, whatever. They have no clue what it is, because from the day whoever dropped it off to them, it went into their little shoebox, stuck in the back of the closet, and they've never looked at it again. So it's tough for people to look at you or to look at me and say, I have no clue what I'm doing. Can you help me, please? The toughest thing that any of us do, regardless of what the issue is asking for help. So what we try to do is make it easier to ask for help.
Right.
It's like, hey, if you don't understand, that's okay. What's your question? What's the question?
Right. Also, these technologies like the AIs, like you said, they are not certified. They are not, they are not specialists. And most of the time, I mean, they are large language models, LLM. So they're predicting the next word or the next phrase. And they make mistakes. They can, write something that is completely BS, and they can write something that is accurate. It's just, you never know. So you always need someone to proofread it. Someone, even if you prompt it, you need someone who has the credentials, the licenses, the experience, the expertise to read those and review them and correct them.
And that's exactly how my business works. If I were to, let's say you had a newsletter and you wanted me to write an article for it, I would write that article, but the first thing I have to do is I have to send that to, it's called my compliance department. They review it to make sure that everything I said is truthful and accurate by the law as we know it is today. Before I could say, okay, here it is, MD, you can go ahead and print this in your, that process normally takes about a month, because there's lawyers, there's people from the security, everyone's, and you're absolutely right. Where you and I could sit down and in 10 minutes, basically using technology available to us today, write something that may or may not be accurate, but makes us look really good, makes us look like we know what we're doing.
Right.
So for me, it's like anything in life. If you have an issue, seek out the expert. Seek out an expert. Again, if you're sick, you go to the doctor. If you have a toothache, you go to the dentist. If your toilet's overflowing, you call a plumber.
Right.
If you know that you're having problems with money and that your financial world is just a hot mess, call an expert. It's okay. Ask for some help. We do it every day, except when it comes to our money. And then we wonder why we're having the issues we have with money.
Yep. And that's a good point. On another topic, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that or not. Credit card, credit score. A lot of people have bad credit, and a lot of people have credit card debts, student loan debts. Sometimes you have a credit card and then you get another credit card, so you keep adding up on top of that. It just and I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, how that impacts your credit score, how that can impact your your financial wealth, how to build wealth for your future.
Well, remember how we started.
Right.
That Americans, as a culture, Americans have basically learned 2 things about their money: how to make it and how to spend it.
Right.
The problem is most of us spend more than we make.
Yeah.
So the banks and that came up with these wonderful things called credit cards, which makes it even easier.
Right.
One of the things that I work a lot on is helping people manage and control debt. When people ask me, hey, Scott, you tell me that I can make more money, what's the best way for me to make more money? And I'll ask them a question. Well, how do you think you can make more money? And most people will say, oh, I can go get another job, or, I can start a side hustle. And they go through these ideas of I need to generate more revenue.
Mhm.
I need to make more money. I look at them and say, you know what? I'd be willing to bet if we could spend an hour together, you don't have a revenue problem. You make enough money to do the things, to have what you need and do the things that you would like to be able to do, to have. And what do we need? Well, we need food, shelter, clothing, and some health care. And for some people, clothing is optional.
Right.
But we need to have those four things. Most people make enough money, so it's not a revenue problem. And it's not a spending problem. It's a debt problem.
Mhm.
So we spend a lot of time teaching people about debt and the impact that that has
Mhm.
on their money and their current financial situation, from credit scores to the ability to so on as buy a house, buy a car, whatever that might be. And we spend an awful lot of time teaching people. I mean, the average American has close to $80,000 in debt. Think
Wow.
about that.
Wow.
And here's what makes that number even like really wow. The average American makes about $50,000 a year.
Oh my God. Wow.
Okay, let's do that math. How is that?
Right.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we spend a lot of time working with people on putting together a debt management program that teaches them how to reduce debt significantly over time.
Mhm.
There's nothing hard about it. There's nothing hard about it. But the hard part about it is we have to be committed and disciplined to the program. No matter what we do with our money, whether it's mitigating risks, whether it's paying down debt, whether it's building an emergency fund, whether it's accumulating wealth, whatever it might be, most people don't achieve their goal because they don't remain committed and disciplined to the plan. And it's no different than everything else that we've ever tried in life. I compare it to athletics.
Yep.
You don't get to the NFL, you don't get to Major League Baseball, you don't get to the NBA. You don't. I'm a huge golfer. Uh, you don't get to the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, unless you are committed and disciplined to the plan that your coaches put in place for you to get there.
Yeah.
A lot of good players out there, a lot of them, but they just didn't stay committed and disciplined long enough to get to the ultimate goal. People make the same mistake with their money. Why? I don't know, because the new BMW came out. Oh my God, it's so pretty and so hot. I want one. Well, I thought you wanted the kids to go to school. Well, we'll worry about that later. So, the next shiny bauble, and that's our culture. That's our culture.
Yeah.
And we've got to learn to think about, is this something I need or something I want? One of the things that I ask my new clients to do for me, two things, is just grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and I want you to write down every penny that you spend every day for the next 30 days. If you go to Starbucks, buy a cup of coffee, write that down.
For
Go to
30
your
days.
grocery shopping, write that down. Take the kids to McDonald's, write that down. Take yourself to McDonald's, write it down. I want you to do that first. The second thing I want you to do, because you tell me you have no money, you make $50,000 a year, MD, which means you make about $25 an hour. Every day when you come home, I want you to take $25 out of your pocket. And I want you to put it somewhere. I don't care where. Put it in an envelope, put it in a coffee can, give it to your spouse, give it to your partner, whatever, and ask them to hold it. And I want you to do that every day when you come home from work. So you work 5 days a week. So 25 times 5, 5 times 5. So you should have $125 a week. And then show that to me at the end of the month. And they look at me and they go, why do you want me to do this? Well, number one, it's kind of a test for me. Are you going to be committed and disciplined just to do this? This is pretty simple,
Yeah.
you know. But the people who do it look at that list and go, holy criminy, Scott, I didn't realize how much money I was spending on just stuff, you know. Now, some of it was legit. Yeah, you got to eat. Yeah, you got to put gas in the car because you got to go back and forth from work.
Right.
But do you really need to go to Starbucks every morning and get a latte and a muffin for $28.50? Come on. So they see that, but more importantly, because one of the things I tell them is, and I guarantee you that by the end of the 30 days, I can show you that you have easily an additional $300 that you don't even know you have. And they all look at me, yeah, okay, prove it. At the end of that 30 days, when I meet with them again, I have them walk me through that list, everything they spent. And then I look at them and say, remember I asked you to save that $25 a day, MD? Did you do it? Yeah, I did it. Where's that money? Yeah, MD jumps up, he runs to the other room. He goes, and boy, man, you're counting it out. Look at this, man. Look at this.
You're
You're
proud
counting
of
it out.
yourself.
You're like, look, yeah, you take that. And I look at you, so I thought you said you didn't have any money. I thought you said you're sitting, my friend, you're sitting on 125, 250, $500.
500. Yep.
I thought you said you didn't have any money. Now, let's take that $500 and I'm just going to make a number up. The $250 that you spent on Starbucks and Twizzlers at Walmart, you know, other than the stuff you need, food, shelter, clothing, $500. And MD, I thought you said you didn't have any money. I'm looking at $750 sitting
Wow.
here.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And people sit there and go, and that's how money works.
Wow.
And if we take it all the way back to where we began, because see, every day, MD, you get up, you trade your most valuable asset, your time, for someone else's money.
Yep.
They give it. You write that down for 30 days. What you realize is you're giving most of your money away.
Right.
Because had you not had the commitment and discipline to put the $25 in that envelope, you would have spent that too. So what you learn instantly is, wow. And as a reward, I look at my people and I say, so hey, MD, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to do most of the things on this. Like, yeah, you got to buy gas. Yes, you got to buy food. Yes, the kids need shoes. Yeah, I get that. But hey, I couldn't help but notice you have a really nice Mr. Coffee in there in the kitchen. How about you make your own coffee?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Hey, and you get it. And then I say, and with this $500, and this is always the tough part because they're normally hanging on to it. I say, give me that money.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, yeah. I take the money and I try to always meet with the couple,
Right.
you know, husband, wife, partner, whatever it might be. And I look at them both and I look at them and I say, so if I gave you $500 to do with whatever you would like to do with, what would you guys go do? Most of them, oh, we go out for a really nice dinner. We have a really nice date. I go, okay, here you go. But next month we're doing it all again. And next month you're going to put that $500 to work for you because you also need a reward. If you show commitment and discipline, you need to be rewarded for that. So look what you can do for yourself.
Yep.
If you just do this for 30 days, you just created $750 if you make 50 grand a year. And at the end of that 30 days, you get a reward with the understanding that starting next month, you're still going to put $25 in the coffee can. But in a month from today, we're going to talk about how that $500 and the $250 that you just saved is going to go to work for you.
Wow.
And create wealth and protection for you. It's going to help you make more money, save more money, grow more money, keep it safe. That's how we teach people how money works.
Yeah, that's a great example, Scott. Wow. Yeah, you just make the live financial literacy like live demo. This is the live course. Someone making 50,000 a year here, you can save 750 just like this. This is great.
yeah.
This is great advice.
I would, for our audience, you don't have to call me. I'm not going to call you and make sure you did it. But please grab a pencil and just grab a piece of paper and just write down what you spend every day. And whatever your annual salary is, take 1 hour of your salary per day and put it somewhere. And at the end of the month, you're going to learn that, and remember what I said earlier, it's not a revenue problem. You're making plenty of money. It's what you're doing with it that makes it appear that you don't have any money, because you're unaware of what you're doing with it. So let's become aware. Let's raise our consciousness. You're in California, so I'll be California. Let's raise our consciousness.
I'm in Nevada.
Oh, Nevada. Yeah, you're close enough. So let's raise our consciousness and let's become aware. Because once we're aware of what the issue is, we can begin to work on resolving the issue.
Yeah. I really like your formula. This is, just take 1 hour, what you make per hour, because you make it, you break it down into very simple terms that everybody can understand. The house, financial house, just take, your hourly rate. You're making $25 an hour, $20 an hour, 15 an hour. Just take that, put it on the side. It's like paying yourself. I work 8 hours a day. Let me take 1 hour, put that for myself. So you
for myself, yeah. It's that simple.
And then write down your expenses. Maybe you'll find, coffees. Maybe you find some subscriptions, Netflix, Hulu, or whatever you have that is not.
Oh yeah, yeah,
something you
all
really
that
need.
fun stuff, all that fun. And we all, most of us have cable TV. I'm guilty of it too.
Right.
400 million channels, of which I watch 4.
Right.
Right. But yeah, one of the things, when people say, well, Scott, how is this going to help me? Yeah, you get a little pushback when you ask people to do this. I say, okay, let me put it to you this way. Here's the question, MD. How much does a $5 hamburger cost? And MD says,
$5.
$5. I say,
Yeah.
that's a great answer, but it's incorrect. I'm sorry, my friend.
Plus tax, no?
Here's what a $5 hamburger costs. If you make $5 an hour, costs 1 hour of your time.
Yeah.
If you make $10 an hour, it costs 30 minutes of your time. If you make $20 an hour, it costs 15 minutes of your time. The question becomes, is a $5 hamburger worth 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, or if you make $25 an hour, 1 minute of your time?
Right.
Is that hamburger worth it? That's the cost of a $5 hamburger. The cost of the hamburger is not the cost of the hamburger. It's how much time do you have to sacrifice to have it?
Wow. I love that. I love that. Because once you link it to you, like you have to go out, actually make those money to spend them. Once you link it to you, you become more conscious. You try to become more careful.
You begin to understand.
Yeah.
And then the question really becomes, okay, Scott, I make 20 bucks an hour, so that $5 hamburger is going to cost me 15 minutes. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. So the question then becomes, is it worth 15 minutes of your time to make someone else rich? That's the question. Are you willing to sacrifice your own well-being to help someone you don't even know?
Right.
Because I want a cheeseburger. That's beginning to understand how money works.
Yeah, that's really good. So I saw you have your information there, and so anyone who needs help in the financial sector, I think they can reach out to you, right? Like you have
Oh,
the
yes.
number there, the 727-422-7761. Just have your email, foreverforwardfinancial@gmail.com.
That is correct.
And
And here's what I'll do, MD, just as my thank you to you. If anyone from your audience reaches out to me, lets me know that they saw me with you, I'll give them 2 free hours consultation. I'll give them a free 2-hour consultation.
wow,
Just
thank you so
remind me
much.
that, hey Scott, I saw you on MD's show. Say, okay.
Thank you so much. That's nice.
You're
That's
welcome.
really nice. That's
You're
nice.
welcome. You're welcome.
So for people out there struggling, for young people graduating from high school, some people getting laid off, life is tough, things goes up and down. What advice do you have for people out there to give them hope?
Like Steve Perry used to say, Steve Perry of Journey, don't stop believing. And I'm serious. I say that with it is no joke. Life is tough.
Yes.
Life is hard.
Right.
Life will throw you challenges. Life will throw you curveballs. Life is difficult, but don't stop believing in yourself and in your ability to achieve your dreams and your goals. You deal with it every day, MD. I deal with it every day, MD. I write every night, and I will do it when you and I complete tonight. I will sit down and I will write out my goals and objectives for tomorrow. I really need to get this done. I'd like to get this done. And if I get to this, that'll be great. Guess what? I never get through the list. Never. That's okay. And people will look at me and say, well, then you failed. And I say, no, I didn't fail. Because you see, failure is an event. It's not personal. So don't stop believing, and don't let anyone convince you that if you don't achieve your goal, you have failed. People don't fail. Events fail. Plans don't work out. The difference between courage and fear is the guy who is viewed as courageous was brave enough to stand up after a failure and try again.
Right.
And try again. So believe failure is not you. Failure is an event that we can recover from. We just came through a horrible pandemic.
Yep.
A lot of people are beating themselves up. I failed, I lost my job, and this. We've all lost jobs. I've lost jobs.
Right.
Guess what? I didn't fail. The company moved in a different direction.
Yep.
They didn't need me anymore. Okay, I got it. Was it difficult? Was it, pain in the what? Yes, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. So don't stop believing. We all have the ability to achieve our goals, to reach our dreams, if we stay committed and are disciplined to overcoming the obstacles that life will place in front of us on the path moving forever forward. That's why we call it Forever Forward.
Forever Forward. Yeah, that's really good. That's a good name. It's a great
That's why we call it Forever Forward.
Always moving forward. Thank you for sharing that hopeful message for everybody out there struggling. And also, what do you do? What's your hobbies? On a personal note, what keep you going? What do you like to do to balance yourself?
I live in Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Anybody who lives in Florida, what do? It's easy. We're either at Disney, we're at the beach, or we play golf. That's what we do.
That's good.
But no, really, I am greatly blessed to live in Florida. I lived in Florida for 42 years. You're in a great place though too. When I'm not working, I've got a tremendous family. We're big golfers. It's Florida, so you got to golf.
Golf is great. You get sunlight, you get vitamin D.
Oh yeah. Well, and the nice thing about living in Florida is we have some of the greatest beaches in the world.
Right.
We have some of the greatest golf courses in the world. And for me, I'm in the Tampa Bay area. I can be at some of the best beaches, some of the best resorts, some of the best golf courses, some of the best places on earth within 3 hours.
Wow.
My wife and I just spent last weekend down in West Palm Beach, hanging out, having fun, 2.5 hour ride.
Wow.
So for me, living in Florida is just an absolute blessing, because if I want to go see Mickey Mouse, I can do that. If I just want to hang out on the beach, I can go do that. And I'm in a place where I have my pick of some of the best spots for just about anything you can think of that you want to do, eat, play, or just hang out. Now that I'm not asking anybody else to move here. Please, we got enough.
Yeah, it's gonna make your real estate going up. It's gonna keep.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah, my real estate friends will like that little plug, and the Chamber of Commerce will love me, but the rest of you stay. We got enough. We got enough.
Yeah,
Things are getting crowded. So,
true.
but no, that's it. I have a great lifestyle here in Florida, um, and lots of places I like to go visit. Your town is one of them, but this is home. This is home, and I am really happy here. Really
Yeah.
happy here.
Yeah, what a great life. What a great life. Thank you so much, Scott. I just want to congratulate you on your, life success. You are an expert in the financial services. You have, your certified financial educator. If people, see your LinkedIn profile, you have, many, many years of experience doing this. And today you have your business, you're trying to help people. And I really hope people can reach out to you for any advice. And, we talked about building your foundations, right? All these foundation documents you talked about, the step one. And then from there, you have some risk management that you can do. And then from there, you can start building your wealth. And yeah, so this was awesome. I hope we can do this again. This is one of my goals in my channel, to educate people, to share value information so everybody can see it around the world, and hopefully we can help make a better world for everyone. So thanks so
That's
much
the
for being
idea.
here. Thanks so much for being here, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you, MD. You know I'm here anytime you need me. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you.